Yeah, I'm Robert Downing. I own RDS Inspection Service.
My name is Jordan Dugan. I'm one of the owners for Caprock Design Build.
My name is Joel Rafton for the Duration Homes.
My name is Tyrell Penner. I'm with Flatland Roofing and Insulation. Just like to mention, there's about 75 plus years of building experience here sitting beside me. So we've got a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience. Good to be here with you guys.
Yeah,
listening
yeah.
to it. So we'll try to make it interesting and not too deep and not too boring.
There may not be a whole lot out there that are quite as interested in the changes that as we
Probably
are.
not, no.
I think we're all pretty passionate about it. So it does kind of set us up for a good guidance for the fellow listeners out there. I think everybody's happy to be here. There's a couple of things that we wanted to talk about today, and we're going to keep our first podcast kind of short on the topics. They're hot button items, and I think there's a lot to be said on the upcoming code changes, the city ordinances, the way that the building is going to change here in Amarillo, and that's some of the information we want to bring to you, help you out in the field, help you getting permits, kind of give some guidance and a real level personal conversation instead of just giving you a printout and saying, "Hey, good luck. Hope it works for you, and hope you don't have a hard time doing it." So
I hope you don't fall asleep
yeah,
listening
yeah.
to it. So we'll try to make it interesting and not too deep and not too boring.
There may not be a whole lot out there that are quite as interested in the changes that as we
Probably
are.
not,
And
no.
I think we're all pretty passionate about it. So it does kind of set us up for a good guidance for the fellow listeners out there. Joel, why don't you tell us kind of what are the topics that we're talking about today?
Well, we're talking about the July 1st big bang.
That's right.
It's the big bang. So everything as you know it is now different. You're going to turn in for a permit. It's not going to be the same as it was June 30th first. There's 31 days in June.
I think so.
So it's a new world.
Maybe 30.
Right. So Robert, so what have we adopted? The 20.
We adopted the 2021 codes. We have left the 2015 Energy Code unamended from amended point of view, and that is going to be a hot topic for a while. Hopefully, we can spend a little time talking about each one of these ordinances. There's not quite as much in the new ordinances as there was in the old. So
what's an ordinance?
An ordinance is a way for a city to strike through or change something that makes it more sense for where you live.
So they're adjusting.
So they're adjusting. They are adjusting kind of what's in the code, because that code is written, as I've said in numerous times, is for all of North America and about 32 countries across the world. So not everything in the code book pertains to us out here in the Panhandle in West Texas.
So let me ask you one question. When you say these ordinances, I understand now what they mean. What committee, who sits down and decides that Amarillo doesn't need to have a rainforest adjustment?
There is a construction advisory board that does go through the codes. Then once they go through them and read them, talk about it, then they sit in front of typically the building official and maybe the chief building officer, the electrical chief, and the plumbing chief, and they'll make some decisions about what needs to be in there, what doesn't need to be in. What do we need to change? And in some cases, we don't need to change anything.
So this committee is local Amarillo officials.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so it's coming right from our city.
Yep.
Got it.
The construction advisory board has builders, real estate people on it, plumber, electrician, a couple of different, I know there's a couple of different builders on there for sure. Oh, architect and engineers too.
These are industry peers.
Yes, they are.
Okay. And so that's how these adjustments take place.
So just kind of to recap, we're under the 2021 IRC now, and that's since July 1st, 2024 is now in effect. So any permit applied after that
Yes,
has to follow these guidelines, with the exception or the ordinance of the IECC 2015.
that is correct.
Well, so one of the kind of hot button items that other than the 21 IRC that's going to have some changes that we'll follow up with in some future podcasts. We want to kind of take this one step at a time, so it's not a 4-hour podcast or it's not overwhelming, but you can actually absorb some of this information. Let's get into the kind of the hot button item, which is the IECC 2015 insulation and fenestration requirements table.
Yeah.
You want Terrell to kind of go through this?
Yeah, let's do
Yeah.
that, Terrell.
Yeah.
I mean, so again, your background is insulator,
Yeah.
right?
Insulation.
So you're actually installing this stuff.
Yes.
Okay, so you'd be a good one to speak for before, during, and after
Yeah.
what's happened and what's going to happen.
Yeah. I think first off, probably the most important thing to take note of is climate zone 4. You got to start with the very basics. When you go read the code book, the 2015 IECC, you're going to find a lot of information in those chapters that don't pertain to our area and don't pertain to
That's a
our
good
climate
point.
zone. So as we look at these charts, let's make sure that we're reading the correct line. In our case, it's climate zone 4, except marine they put on this one. A lot of what's been done in the past is going to be changing with the ways that we're going to meet these code requirements. And yeah, I think that, even though these numbers are going up, which in a lot of cases would pertain to, more expensive building, there's still lots of good ways to insulate our homes. And it's not, for the builder, it's not a scary thing. For the subcontractors, the insulation contractors, it's not something that makes it impossible to continue doing what we're doing. It just changes the way we go about it.
I would agree with that. While we're on the subject, why don't you go ahead and read off a few of these numbers and kind of let us know where these basic prescriptive guidelines are for these insulation values, these U factors for fenestration.
Do we have like a before and after shot, like where it says 49, June 31st? What was it?
I don't have one printed out. Robert, you can probably help.
Yeah,
us
you
with
probably
that.
can help us on that. No?
Yeah, I can tell you what they are. That's for sure.
I guess let's review that first.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah,
go
where we're
over-
coming from and where we're going to, so they don't just freak out on a big jump.
Yeah.
Yeah. For the most part, one of the biggest places was the ceiling R value was put in at R40. And I believe the wall was left at R20, but they would accept an R15 in the cavity of the wall. So now we are back to how it's written, which is R49 in the attic and an R20 or a 13+5, which 13 is your interior cavity and your 5 is your exterior insulation.
Have our fenestrations changed?
No, the
Okay.
fenestrations were still a 0.35
Mhm.
and a 0.55 for the skylights. The glazed fenestration solar heat gain did not change either, which was 0.4. A lot of windows that we see today are much better than that.
Good
But
windows.
Just to kind of touch on, if somebody is a builder and you're probably pretty familiar with these terms, that U factor is the inverse of the R factor.
Mhm.
The glazed fenestration, you see SHGC, that's solar heat gain coefficient. That's the amount of heat that can pass through that window into the home. And again, that's why that climate zone is so important. In a northern climate zone, to have more heat pass through might be a good thing. Where down south, to have more heat pass through means you're actually expending more energy to achieve the conditions inside that living space that you're trying to accommodate for. Some of the other stuff that we've got on here, Robert, you might know a little bit better. We've got, typically in Amarillo, we've been doing an exterior foundation insulation. That's, in our case, it's typically a spray foam sprayed on the outside.
Yeah,
of the
it's
slab.
it's either spray foamed or a minimum of an R5 slab the one thing that we'll be looking for that's a little bit different is the fact you've got to stick, if you're going to use a foam board, it has to be stuck to that slab. You can't just throw it in there and leave it and put your brick up and go on down the road. It doesn't do any good if it's not attached.
Sure, that makes sense. Being slightly above grade in some circumstances has a chance for it to be air washed, and we might go over here in the future some products that are available for use that are in our market, maybe some that you've inspected, or Joel, you and I have maybe used before, and maybe we can help give some guidelines.
You talking about the found slab installation?
Just in general, different wall assemblies to maybe achieve some of these.
Yeah, we can have some fun with that.
Yeah, I think it'd be a really fun podcast conversation.
Terrell, what do you think about the R49 number? That seems to be the one that's jumping off the page.
Yeah, it looks huge, but I mean, I think we're going to get to this yet, but it's so important to remember that the performance versus the prescriptive path.
Well, that's something we wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
Correct. Those
So,
two options.
so these numbers, they mean a lot for those that are going to try to build the prescriptive method, but I don't really think, and you guys are going to have to stop me because I'm not always necessarily politically correct.
Stop right now.
But I don't think you're going to see a lot of builders using the prescriptive method, if any, just because it's so difficult. And yeah, when you throw in the performance path to meeting the code compliance, there's really a lot of advantages to it.
Absolutely.
For the homeowner and for the builder.
Yes.
It's good for everyone, really.
Mm-hmm.
So the prescriptive, I mean, there is more than one type of prescriptive, but this is the simple one that everybody knows about. And so that's just right out of the new codes. This is just bam, they're saying this is what we need.
There's one prescriptive, but we have 6 paths.
Paths, right.
And we're commonly going to refer to 2 paths here in Amarillo, which is performance and prescriptive.
So performance is the big topic.
Performance
Yes.
is going to be, I think, something that
You guys got 20 minutes
everybody
to
learns.
hang on the
Yeah.
line because we're talking about performance now, and it's kind of deep.
And I think it's
It's
something
fun.
we're
It's
passionate
exciting.
about. Yeah,
But it's new.
it is new. It is new.
You can't do it on the back of a napkin.
Like Tyrell said, the prescriptive path is probably going to be become a less of a popular path. And I think it's going to have a lot to do with some of the insulation values that we're going to have to achieve. Doesn't mean it's a bad path. It means it is the set forth prescriptive minimum requirement we have to build that house. However, when we move into that performance build, that doesn't apply necessarily anymore.
No. And the other, I ask a question to somebody who actually sits on the International Code Council Energy Board. I ask her, why do we still even have a prescriptive path? And her answer was, because in some cases, when we're remodeling a home, this is the easiest
Sure.
path to get to. So I want to make that pretty clear too, is that prescriptive method, it's not going to go out the window on a remodel necessarily, unless it's a pretty large remodel. But if you're just redoing a bathroom or adding on a bedroom, that may be the best choice.
That makes sense. So you're not having to necessarily get an energy model for that done.
That is correct.
You can put in a window that has a sticker that is approved with a 0.35 fenestration U factor. And then you would apply that insulation in that wall and pass code.
Absolutely.
So in a small remodel, it might be the most affordable way. to do that.
Exactly.
That's a really good point.
So we should take this and turn this paper over. We're done with that. And we should talk about
We are.
performance.
Yeah.
And what that means. I mean, you can take the word performance and you can add the word a la carte to it. And kind of have, it's like, going to the restaurant and there's plenty of options, but it's really hamburger and beans.
It's no longer the combo meal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So, you want to talk about how that starts? Right from the energy auditor, right through your options of assemblies, and this is all done on a program. What was the name of that program?
It's Ecotrope.
Is there 2 programs or 1 program?
There's several.
Is there
Yeah.
several programs?
Yeah, but Ecotrope is the most
the ones
widely
that the
used.
guys in our area are
Mhm.
using. And when I say the guys, I mean there's a third party that you're involved with. It isn't
Certified.
Yeah,
Yep.
you know, it's a energy auditor. Is that what they call themselves?
Yes, that's exactly
Yeah.
what they call
Energy
themselves.
auditor.
And
Yep.
A lot-
Or in some cases, in certain, and I only know this coming back from the bringing Passive House back into this, it is that same concept. A lot of times they're referred to as a designer,
Mhm.
but energy auditor is a common name.
Mhm.
And what they're going to do is you're going to have a conversation with them like you would an architect. You're literally designing the assemblies and the things that go into that house, a combination of things to meet a total score that approves you for that, basically for the permit to pass inspection.
I gotta
Yeah,
ask this question here quick,
Yeah.
just because I know the builders are going to be asking. Is this something that a builder can he be his own inspector?
he
Can
cannot.
Good
No.
question.
Yeah,
Yeah, cannot be.
Right.
this has to be third party.
It's conflict of interest.
Yeah.
Yeah. And these third parties are certified through ResNet and
Yep.
through Energy Star
And-
as well, which is all operated by the Energy Protection
And
Agency.
don't they? Isn't there a provider over above?
Yes, there is.
You know, there's a eye in the sky.
Yeah.
You know, overseeing this energy auditor doing this work, and it has to be approved by yet another person. So it's not for the faint of heart.
Yeah, I
You
No.
know, if these guys are jumping in, they're spending some money on the software for
Mhm.
sure, and then the blower door test because they take care of blower door, they take care of the duct blast.
Yep.
So they have they're in deep, you know, and they're excited to be doing it.
They're right now, from what I understand, the expense is in the neighborhood of around $20,000 to $25,000 to become an energy auditor.
Right.
By the time you buy the blower door, duct blast, and some of the other little accessories
Software,
and the software that goes
and that
with it.
fancy tape they use.
Yeah,
that can't be cheap.
absolutely. It's
That
not
can't be
cheap. No.
So no, the builders aren't going to
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
I'd ask the
Yeah.
question for the builders because I know
But
that
you could do it. You could
Yeah.
become an energy auditor.
Yeah.
You're a
Yes, you
smart
can.
guy.
Good.
You can run a whole.
And technically, a builder can become an energy auditor.
Just can't
They
do-
just can't do their own
So
right.
energy
So
audit.
here's another question. So what about when it comes to energy auditing? What about for a subcontractor? If he's working on the project in other areas, can he also be auditing that project also?
The way it was explained to me was, yes, like the mechanical guys, yes, they could do their own duct blast if they chose to do so. But the problem is, because of the way the energy auditors are set up and monitored, they will not take what the mechanical guys put out. They want to come do their own test. They want to be sure that they're doing what they're going to be monitored on. I'm going through some of this training, so I get what they're saying. So, in some parts of the state, as this energy auditing becomes more and more frequent, and you're starting to see more of it, some of the mechanical guys were a little bit upset because they weren't taking their numbers. Well, to begin with, the energy auditor's on the hook, so
Mhm.
he's the one who signs the bottom of the page. It's his name and number that goes before the EPA. So
Right. And he has to answer to his provider.
he has to answer to his provider.
Right.
So
I mean, it's kind of like a realtor and a broker. You know, I mean,
absolutely.
there's a chain of command there. There's a
Yes.
hierarchy, and so it's pretty straightforward.
But if your HVAC guy is out there with his duct blast kit, it's not necessarily a bad thing
No,
because
he needs to
because
check it
they are-
anyway.
They are verifying that it is going to be what they said it would be.
Right. It's going to save
Mhm.
time.
So maybe it has to happen twice because the energy auditor has to do it, and we understand that.
Yep.
It doesn't mean that every HVAC company needs to throw their duct blast kit out the window.
Oh, no. Absolutely
So-
not. No.
So here I am, a builder, and I want to do my first performance house.
Mhm.
You know, what do? I got my plans back in the truck. What's my first steps? What's my second steps? What do I do?
So really, honestly, before you even have plans, if you've got the chance, you really need to contact that. It's usually going to be an energy performance company or energy audit company
Mhm.
that is, they're not just going to be your designer. They're also going to be performing your inspections and your tests along the way.
Absolutely.
They're going to submit your design models to the city for your permitting. And Robert, correct me if I'm wrong, the city's not actually going to be doing inspections on a performance-based path.
They do not, because
They're not certified.
they're not certified to do so.
Right, they can't do that.
And it takes some liability out of the city. It does.
So you're saying that I should take my concept, not my full drawn plans, and then talk to my energy auditor, and try to get a target, of where I want to land with some of these. There again, some of these values that I want to do some trading off and on, and he's kind of a consultant up front and helps me design. If I've never done it before, 2x6 walls will give you this. 2x4 wall plus insulation on the outside continues will give you this. He kind of helps you do the assemblies, and then you can have your designer or architect based on his recommendations draw it up.
That's the ideal situation.
Yeah.
And Joel, let me throw this back at you. How many times have you had a home built where somebody brought you a set of plans and you said, man, I wish you would have brought me in on that in the first place, because we probably could have saved you a lot of money in design. There's some things that architects don't always account for. And in this case, it's the same thing. You don't really want to bring in a set of full drawn house plans and then tell your energy auditor, make this be approved, because
make it work.
They may have some ideas that saves the builder, the homeowner, or makes a more efficient design out of what you're trying to do. So getting them in right off the start, before that design process has started, is actually a pretty key deal. Not absolutely 100% necessary, but it is a huge
if you can
benefit.
start fresh.
Benefit.
I can see your point.
Yeah. Typically, the energy auditors that I have worked with, they're really kind of good with the set of floor plans and elevations. That's pretty much what you got to send to them. And then they usually have a sheet that the builder has to fill out to tell them, hey, I'm going to spray foam. I'm pretty sure I'm going to spray foam the attic, and I might use some other type of insulation in the wall.
It's like an intake form.
It's an intake form. That's exactly what it is.
And it sends them a direction.
Absolutely. And it looks for, I just got one emailed to me. But it asks for window values. It's asking for, are you doing 2x4, 2x6 walls?
Right.
What kind of appliances are you putting in? It asks for a whole host of things for the heating and air system. So the heating and air guys play a very big part of what has to happen.
So back to this intake form, the big shock is we're moving to 2021 IRC, and insulation values go up, and everybody's kind of stuck on this prescriptive path, and the home's going to get more expensive. But let's look at it from a performance standpoint. Actually, what's going to happen is now the builder is going to get to build to his strong suit.
Yes.
They're actually going to be able to do what they're really good at, implement that in that design process, and that's going to help them kind of have a mediation between what they would be doing versus the prescriptive path. Maybe they're really good at their wall assemblies and insulation, and so they get to drop in some other areas. Maybe they always install an ERV, and so they get to drop in their insulation. Maybe they install a really good HVAC system.
Correct.
And so they don't have as much roof insulation. So there's it's all these series of dials that we're kind of tweaking up or down to actually get to where, hey, now you meet code. Energy is, your levels of energy have been met. You've built a good house. We're going to approve it, and you'll see it at the end of the day.
Yeah. And I think part of the confusion comes by, they're so ingrained on the prescriptive method that they don't understand that Energy Star or some of the other approved methods, they override all that. You just take the code book, throw it over on the floor, and you do what the Energy Star or ERI or whatever else.
So the whole thing, I enjoyed doing this. That's the way I built, right? I built a performance house and built a real nice performance house here in town, but I'm gonna turn my chair. I'm gonna be the devil's advocate, right? This
Mhm.
seems clunky and expensive. All of a sudden, you're asking me to turn 360 degrees here as a builder that has been building in this town for 20 years. Help me understand why I should do this. I mean, are you going to charge me a whole bunch more for this, or I mean, let's pick it apart a bit.
So, sure, okay. Maybe your installation does cost a little bit more.
Mhm.
In one circumstance, if that's the performance path that you chose. In that situation, maybe you're getting a lower SEER HVAC unit that you're saving money on because you spent more on insulation. Vice versa. Maybe you've spent more money on your HVAC and your
And less
insulation
insulation went
comes down, and at the end of the day, it's a wash. But
So you think it can be a wash at the end of the day? That's great.
I think
Yeah.
That's great news.
I think
Well, and
It sounds scary.
it does sound
I'm putting
scary,
myself on
but
the other side of the camera. I'm listening to you guys, listening to myself, and all of a sudden I'm just realizing this sounds scary.
well, and
You know?
and the other thing
So
is,
let's try to make it less scary.
and Jordan kind of touched on it in the fact that with the Energy Star or some of the other methods that are around, it's all trade-off. And the biggest thing that the guys have to understand, and gals, is here most of them are already nearly there anyway. They're already using 100% LED lights. They're already using Energy Star appliances. So you've already met two of your trade-offs.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Energy Star, is there any rebates involved with going this direction? Is there any possible builder rebates?
Well, they're not really rebates as such, but they're tax credits.
Tax credit.
Tax credit. And
Well, that's
depending,
not kicking the knee either.
no, not at all. And they're, it's on the website. And off the top of my head, I can remember that one tax credit is approximately $2,500 for that house.
is that the only monetary value you can get back from going Energy Star?
No, if you get your blower door test and duct blower down even a little bit further, and there's some other requirements, but you can hit a net zero ready, and it's got a $5,000 tax credit to it. And the crazy part is we're pretty close to that already.
Right. It didn't take much at all. The one we did in Pinnacle, that was a net zero ready house. We were so close, we just jumped into the last little bit.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
we understand that there is a way to more or less break even from our traditional buildings, maybe kind of modify what we're doing, technically get some tax credits back in. Maybe we're not doing much at all. And somebody doesn't even want to mess with the tax credits. I think it'd be silly, but still might be getting really close to getting there. But what does that mean for the homeowner? Now, does that mean they're always going to be paying more money for this 21 update?
No, I think they're going to save enough money on their electric bill, their gas bill, that, I think a lot of people don't understand that their utilities are going to go down over a period of time. Is it going to cost the homeowner a little bit more money for that house? Yes, it will. But it's not significant, and it's not anything that you can't recoup over a few years.
Also, that home is going to be better resale.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know if they're going to get into it in this territory, but certifying homes, getting with the realtors, and that certification stays with the home.
Yeah, the green addendum's what you're talking about now.
Which is getting really popular in like Dallas, Austin area right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So your home is, the value of your home is going to stay.
Yes.
And we can't put a percentage on that here yet.
No.
It's not popular.
But it's there.
Hadn't become a thing. But I do think that in the Dallas and Austin Fort Worth area, they're anywhere between 3 to 5% on top of their normal home value.
So it's going to hit here. I mean, eventually someone's going to buy a second home and, a used home, and it's going to, that was built as a performance home. And there's documentation, there's certification, and the electric bills for the last 3 years. It's going to be, I want that home. I don't want that home. I want that one.
And,
it's
and as we move forward, talking about the green addendum, I've dropped off 2 or 3, 4 now to several of the mortgage companies, trying to get them to start reading that green addendum and going, hey, this is a real deal. This is part of it. And the other side that I was told today by our mortgage guy was they have training coming up for not only just mortgage and banks, but also for appraisers.
Oh, for
And the
sure.
appraisers they're going to have to understand that, yes, this is a high performance home or an Energy Star home or whatever it is. Yes, it does mean more than the house that doesn't, that's
for
not
sure.
commissioned.
So there's a value to the homeowner.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Oh, and
there is.
you're not taking even like the comfort aspects of it.
Oh, absolutely
I mean,
not.
because
Yeah.
a lot of these tests that we're doing on these homes, they make it less drafty, more comfortable. That's what that's what the homeowners want ultimately.
Right.
It's what they care about.
And more
Healthy-
durable.
healthy environment.
Yeah.
More durable
Yeah.
is another big one. And the other one is so we covered energy efficiency, we covered comfort, we covered durability. What's the other one I'm missing? There's one more.
Health.
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 The health. That's
Health.
another big one.
Environmental.
Yep.
People pay a lot of money for health.
Yes,
So,
they do.
That's just an added bonus that
And
gets
you've seen
on.
the dust clouds around here.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I struggled to come up with it,
Yeah.
but those are the typical not side effects isn't the word, but
Benefits.
that you receive from these type of buildings that aren't commonly referred to. But I tell you, and Joel, I know you know when you go into a house that's well built, it is a instant difference.
It's an instant
is.
difference.
It
You walk in,
really
it's just instant. So, you sold me. Okay. but there again, we haven't really touched base, and I know we don't know exact numbers, but boy, after hearing how this is so exciting, is this going to cost me $10,000 for that energy audit guy? I mean, what's involved? It's going to take me another 6 months. What's going on with that?
Typically not.
Like, that's scary. It sounds
Some
scary.
it does, but some, and I will say this, energy auditors vary a little bit in their pricing.
It's a business.
So, and it's a business.
Is it under $1,000 maybe? Or?
Probably.
Oh,
It's probably under
I see.
$1,000.
And for that, they're going to do the modeling.
Yep.
Which is really, I have seen it done. It's pretty interesting where they can just take a wall assembly and they're going to give you a little R value for that OSB, and they're going to give you, they're going to push a button, and then way over here down the line through the computer out the other side is your score.
Yes.
Well, I'd like a better score. Well, watch this. We'll just add just a little more R value. We'll do a little thing. Boom, there's a good score. And you know, you get your rating, get your score. So you're thinking that's under $1,000 for all that work, and he's going to come to the job site and do the blower door.
Yeah, he does. He actually does 2 inspections. There's a rough-in inspection that checks out after it's insulated, and they go through and pick up the mechanical equipment to make sure that what you said you put in, it's been put in. They're going to check the ducts a little bit to make sure those are connected correctly. And then they're going to tell you to probably sheetrock it and move on. And then they won't come back until final. And at final is when they're going to do a blower door test. They're going to do the duct blast test. They're going to do the testing.
So let's talk about those 2 things. Let's back up for 1 second, because I was thinking in my mind as we were going through that, since I just finished that one performance house. And we won't get into that at this podcast, but you're talking performance. Let's talk about later, maybe performance framing.
Yes, sure.
Extra studs, 16 studs in a 4-foot roll. Let's get rid of some of that, and maybe we'll talk about that subject. Because in performance,
that's a big deal.
That's a big deal. It's
huge.
It's saving money. It's thermal bridging. I was just thinking that's a cool subject.
Yeah, I think we could have a whole podcast on
advanced framing.
Yeah, wall assembly.
Yeah, that'd be
whole
fun.
wall R value,
air sealing.
We'll get a whiteboard, and we can get back here with a.
I think so.
That'd be fun to do.
We should. If we're doing it here, and we may change studios. We're obviously in our first one, and we're trying to make this something that's interesting for you and educational at the same time. But yeah, I think we've got a lot of really interesting.
And we're going to have some guests.
Yeah,
I've already started working on a guest list.
Someone's got to go. There's only 4 mics.
These guys
You're out
will
of
be,
here. We got a guest.
These guys will probably zoom in for the most part.
I see.
Some of our listeners will know, some they won't know, but most of the people that I've kind of mentioned to what we're doing, they've been in the building science side or they've been in the performance side
Sure, that'd be great
for
to get some
20 years or longer.
Sure.
It's been going
So
on. a
they're
long time.
experts. Oh,
Yeah, I mean,
building science
I
been
mean,
going
coming
on for
from the
30
West
years.
Coast, it's been going on a long time over
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah.
Technically, building science has been going on for thousands. We've
Right.
just not
Yeah.
recognized it as called
Building science.
Yeah, it used to be newspaper in the wall. That was building science.
Yeah, it was.
Back in the
Horsehair.
20s.
Horsehair.
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 Yeah.
I used
That
to
was
love
another
doing old remodels, and first thing I would do is grab the newspaper. What year?
Yeah.
1923. Ooh, cool.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, so that's building science.
So I don't think we have our very next topic already picked out. We've got a handful of hot ones to pick from, and I think will all be interesting. And I think that's something that we're all passionate about. So hopefully we can guide you guys in the right direction. Something I did want to point out is we forgot to introduce our producer over here, Mr. Ben Hardesty. He's with as a regional manager. What's the territory
Why don't you walk
manager?
around the back here and introduce yourself?
Yeah, come on and get a face to that.
Yep.
I know everybody knows you in the association anyway,
Right.
but we're really grateful for
There's our man.
Ben. He's also the chairman for the education committee. He's done a good job. We're really excited to bring this content to you. We think it's an effective way to do it. It's a fun way to do it. We hope you're interested, and you'll stick with us on future episodes.
But so the takeaway: don't be afraid of performance building.
Absolutely
Do
not.
not be afraid of it. It's not scary. You'll get one under your belt, and you'll just be that's normal. It's
Yeah.
going to turn into a normal operating procedure.
It
It's
will.
just going to be standard. And
Performance doesn't mean this over the top, high dollar house.
No,
No.
no.
That's right.
it's almost the wrong word. I mean, we're
It's
doing,
misleading.
it's a good word, but it's a little misleading. It's a little scary. It could they could have said something like adjustments to code. That's a little boring, but so don't be afraid because we're saying performance.
Yeah.
You know, don't be afraid.
We're
No.
not saying high performance.
No,
No,
we're
absolutely.
saying
No, we're not.
performance.
Right.
So that is something to understand. I think as far as the Builder Association, we get together. We're all of us are very involved in that. We'd be happy to talk about it with anybody that comes. We will have some links posted as far as the IEC 2015, the fenestration and R factor chart. If you're going to go with a prescriptive path, we'll put in maybe a link to the city ordinances.
Yeah.
Right.
Kind of have a few documents in there that might be beneficial if this is something that you want to look into. We're looking at putting that on tpba.org/builder talk, kind of our own landing page on the Builder Association website. I'm sure we'll have a lot of really good information that we can put on there in the future that'll be helpful links. Maybe could be as not just code related. We might have some maybe some product endorsement.
Yeah, products that would be good.
I'd be happy to put some of that on there. Otherwise, you guys can be able to watch this on YouTube. I think we'll be on Apple, Spotify, Google, kind of all the main podcast platforms.
And before we sign off, why don't we do a quick attaboy for TPBA,
Yeah,
our association. So if you don't belong to our association, you can.
that's right.
You
know,
bet you can.
And there's
you
three
could-
different ways of doing it, correct?
There's probably 3 different ways to do it.
Well, there's 3 different levels to join at.
Right.
Yep.
And so if you go to our website, you can learn more about it. Or, I mean, if you go to the website, you could find that we have monthly luncheons, and you're invited. You can come. Do you get a free lunch on your
I think so. If it's a guest for the first time.
for first time,
If not, I'd be happy to buy the lunch for
right?
you.
Yep.
Right. So
I've done it. I bought lunch, so I'm
So
good.
if you're interested, in coming and being a member, it's a worthwhile organization. That's how we evolved. I mean, we just met having a lunch, visiting, and became friends. And
Mhm.
and then there's committees you can be involved in. We have a
That's right.
parade of homes. There's a home show. There's a dozen committees probably I don't even know about. But we have an education committee, and that's us. And so this is a great organization. You guys get on the website, check it out. Jordan will buy you lunch. Is it just tpba.com? Is that that get us on to the
TPBA.org will get you to the website.
And then
There's
from there,
there's a
membership.
schedule on there.
there's a membership drop down probably.
There's membership information. There's phone number to contact. So JT Larimore is usually the guy that's going to answer that. If you call that number, he would be happy to get you set up on there. It's really a fun group.
Yeah.
Even though we have similar trades, similar subcontractors within this, it's not a competition type situation. It's a rising
It's
tide.
camaraderie.
Rising tide floats all boats kind of.
No, it's a good group. So you guys should just you should come and get Jordan to buy you lunch.
And it's a fun time. And we usually have a really good guest speaker.
Yeah,
absolutely, we do.
Yeah, we do.
Yep.
Yeah, and you join, you come, you can grab a mic and hang out with us too.
So, anyways, we appreciate you guys watching. We look forward to doing another one, and we hope you continue to.
Thanks for having us.
To watch. So, thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.